Welcome to the Small Steps, Big Wins podcast. I'm dedicated to helping you take control of your life. Together, we'll explore practical tips, expert advice, and inspiring stories to help you overcome obstacles and achieve your goals. Making small changes is possible and can lead to big results. Are you ready? Let's go do this. My good friend Cathy, welcome to the Small Steps, Big Wins podcast. I'm so happy that we're finally having an opportunity to have this conversation. You are a serial entrepreneur of 4 businesses. I love it. You're a mom, you're a coach, you're a real estate investor, and to me, I think there should be more there, but it already sounds like that's enough. Uh, and, and I can't wait till we jump into your thoughts about building a life by design.
I'm super
So
excited.
take a few minutes to introduce yourself if you want to add to that.
I mean, no. I'm like, I think I make people tired with everything I do. They're like, "Whoa, like that just exhausted me." I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, everything I do really is under the umbrella of helping people create time and money freedom. That was very, very relevant in my early years. I grew up lower income family that, had to work a lot. And so we didn't have
Mhm.
money or there wasn't time because we had to work because we needed money. And I just remember early on being like, I just don't want to live like that. I
Yeah.
knew that I wanted to build a life. I wanted to be able to have time and money freedom, to be able to give freely, travel, impact, be with family, and have time for the things that were more important to me. And so that was something that was really, set in my youth and was affirmed, when I saw a friend's parents that worked from home. And I didn't even know that was a possibility, right? Because in the world I
Yeah.
grew up in, like no one did that. And that opened a whole new world of entrepreneurship to me. I started working direct sales at 19 with Cutco, which was incredible, and learned so much about personal development, personal growth, goal setting, time management, and really was off to the races from there. I've had, incredible mentors, and I'll share. I mean, there is a point that I hit after running my business. Let me think. It was about 6 or 7 years in from when I had opened my business, and I was just exhausted, burnt to the
Mm.
ground. I was ready to leave. I said, "This sucks. Like, I just want to go be a missionary and live in South Africa and help people." Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so
I think a lot of entrepreneurs get that way.
yeah, I was
Yeah,
like,
they
I'm
do.
so like empty inside. And I was like, I've just worked. My family, I've pushed them away. My health is through the freaking crapper.
Mm.
I was making the money, more money than I ever thought I could make, but I was
Mhm.
so unhappy. And that really shifted so much, for me to then go, okay, what do I really want? And how do we do this? And figuring out clarity for my life and my business, but then systems, processes, and time hacks to get more of my time back. Because there was starting a business, there was building a business, and then there was getting myself out of the business to actually
Right.
enjoy my life. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. What
Whenever
was
you
there a particular catalyst, or was it over a period of time where you realized, "Wait a minute, I don't wanna keep doing this anymore. There's got to be a better way." And what was, something small that happened that started this trajectory to change? Because obviously you're not there now. You run 4 businesses, so you
Mhm,
found what you were looking for. So
mhm.
talk a little bit about that journey.
Yes, absolutely. So, I think that that moment, for me, back in 2007, where I was ready to leave. I went to a conference that was actually a pastoral leadership conference, thinking like I'm going to go this route. But being there and really, I had like this moment with my creator was nuts. I just felt like he was like holding on to me, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I've lost people that I love. I had missed a very close family member's wedding because I was too busy working and I didn't make time for
Mm.
it, who was like one of the most important people in my life, but my schedule was not reflecting my priorities. And I remember having a conversation with a mentor. I think that for me was a big shift, is like I found someone, and whether you hire help and pay for it, which I highly recommend, or have incredible mentors in your life that you can go to for guidance, And I remember going to him and I said, I don't know what to do. And it was just owning, like, stop trying to figure it out on my own. I think that was the first
Mm.
step, right? That small step that it was like, I always tried to figure it out. I always was getting it done. I never wanted to tell someone. I didn't know what I was doing, or I wasn't sure, where I needed to go, or I didn't want to look incapable in any way. Like I was so programmed for like achievement and perfection and where it got in my way. And I
Yeah.
wasn't able to ask for help. And so I think that first step for me was being able to let my pride down and say, I need help. Like,
Mm.
I am unhappy, I'm unfulfilled, and I don't know what to do. And I don't know how to do this another way. All I know is to grind, grind, grind to get what I need and want. And like, I just don't know what to do because I thought I was going to be happy. And I was earning, Sue, at that time, I was 25 and I was earning $400,000 in income.
Wow.
That is more
Wow.
money than I ever could have imagined.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
growing up low income. And I was like, I hate my life. I was like, I can't do this. Like I was so
Wow.
unhappy. And so that yeah, that was my big my first step. My small step was
Yeah.
just letting the pride down and being willing to ask for help. And for some, it's a very big step. It felt like a huge step.
Yeah.
It was a small thing of just going, you know what? I need help. Who do I need to talk to?
Right.
Went from there.
Right. And, just for context, that happened in 2007. So here we are, fast forwarding 15 years later. And the reason I want to point out that time frame is that often we feel like things should be overnight. Stuff should have happened in the last, things can happen within a short amount of time, like 6 month period or a year period. But to design things to get sometimes to get where you feel you need to go, it's going to take some time. It's going to take small increments, small steps. Sometimes it happens really fast, sometimes it doesn't. So I love this term, building a life by design. I really do. It sounds actually, when I say it, it sounds very energetic, but also freeing at the same time, like light. Building a life by design sounds
Mhm.
like utopia to me. To me, anyway. So let's start. Let's go there. Let's talk about it. What does that mean to you to build a life by design?
Yes. Okay. Well, I think that, when I was younger, many of us, are living a life based on what's been put in front of us, right? And so whether it's already been pre-planned, or that we're told to do this or go to the school, or there's influence from the outside of like what path we should go on. But what I've noticed is so many times people haven't taken time to really think about what they want, and whether it's they don't have the ability to because they have overbearing, whether it's parents or influencers in their life. They're like, no, this is what you need to do, or this is the expectation, or whatever it might be. And so
Mhm.
they never got to pursue their passions, their dreams, and they just follow the plan, or it just seems like that's the only way to get ahead, is like, I have to get this stuff done. And even though I love, let's say, the arts, like I want to set my son up, and I'm setting him up right now, and he's turning 5 next month, where he has the ability to pursue the arts if he wants. He's like, he loves to sing and dance, and he creates songs, and he loves to be on camera, and like loves to be the center of attention. I'm like, this is like my entertainer, and I want to set him up that, if he didn't make it to Hollywood, or and he was just like doing Broadway plays or doing fun things, like let's just say that's where things ended up, that he is set up financially where he doesn't feel he has to take blank job to have this life, because
Mm.
he knows how to create passive income. He knows he owns assets. He has, real estate investments. He has money in different companies. He knows how to trade in the stock market. He knows how to do these things. And so he's able to pursue his passions. If he wants to go sing and dance, beautiful, go do it. Right. And he's not worried about sacrificing his passions to make money to live. Right. And so I think that happens to a lot of people, where it's like, well, this is what I have to do, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to take care of my family or myself. And I love that. And it's beautiful. And there's another way.
Mm.
There's the ability to learn these skill sets and be able to set yourself up to be able to earn passive income and create time to do the things you love to do.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody listening who's saying like, okay, I'm doing something I really don't want to do. It's not my passion. I'm certainly not the life that I want to build, but there are a lot of us, and I fell into that trap too, where it's like you took the job that just came your way because either you were trained as that. For me, it was a teacher, even though it didn't really, I love helping people. I love teaching people things, but the teaching profession in the public school system wasn't the right modality for me, but yet that's how I was trained. That's what I fell into. That's what I took, but it really wasn't my root authentic self. And somebody listening is like, well, like, I'm stuck there right now.
Mm. I love
And how do we move from you? Because the reality is you may still need that job, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The
Let's
reality is
talk about
there. So, yeah, I mean, the reality is like that is you still need that job. Um, what are some suggestions or some
that.
things you personally did that moved you from realizing, okay, I'm not where I want to be. Let me start moving towards where I want to be. And I know you mentioned about getting about putting your pride on the side and
Yeah,
then getting the help that
there's
you needed.
more.
Yeah, I know. Oh, that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
So, yeah, continue the story.
Absolutely. So I think that, from the next step, after asking for help was like really getting self-aware. Like, what did I want and where did I want to go? I don't think that I'd done much of that, earlier on. I had learned how to set goals, which was awesome. But I hadn't really thought about like if money, time, like there were no constraints and I could be anyone, do anything, have anything, contribute anyway, like whatever it was, like anything was possible because by the way, it is. But if I could actually do it, like what would I want? What would that look like? Right. And so I think that next step for me at that time happened. So August is when I had the complete breakdown. October, I was actually at an event and I heard a talk that really changed my world. And it was Matthew Kelly speaking on the Dream Manager and really talking about utilizing the vehicle that you're in to achieve the life of your dreams. And so back to what you said before and asked, you said, how about if somebody's in, because you have to, right? You have to be there, or like it's what you have right now, or you were trained, or whatever it is. Like, great, we can change the lens as to how we look at that, because now it's just like, oh, I'm doing this job and it's like not aligned with, and it's like, no, how can this job, like, what can you learn from it? What can you gain from it? And how can you utilize this as your current
Mm.
goal until we get to the next thing? Because in this, when he shared this and he talks about it in his book, and I had this conversation earlier with somebody, I'm like, they had a janitorial company that everybody wanted to work at, Sue. Like
Oh, wow.
everyone wanted to go work at this janitorial company. And not that they were like, I can't wait to go clean toilets. But this company was doing dream sessions with their employees and they were sitting down and thinking, okay, and then figuring out what their 1, 3, 5 year, plan,
Wow.
were, and they were making an actual strategy on how to help them hit it. And these, people that most of them are in poverty, most of them make minimum wage. We're buying houses. We're sending kids to college. We're paying off debt. So what are they doing? They're telling all their friends, like, you got to work at this company. You got to work at this janitorial company. Like they are helping. Helped me buy a house. They helped me send my kid to college. They helped me pay,
Yeah.
and everyone wanted to work there. And
Wow.
again, back to, it wasn't about cleaning toilets, but this company was utilizing their company as a vehicle for people to get to the life that they wanted. And it wasn't by cleaning toilets they were achieving all their dreams, but it was how the upper management was supporting and helping them. So I
Right.
was like, so how can we do that for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of where we're at in life, sometimes we might have a vehicle that's allowing us to impact, like you have your podcast, or a vehicle that's allowing us to give freely because it produces this passive income. Sometimes it's a vehicle to produce basic foundations of cash to help us keep getting one step in front of the other to then get to that next thing, to get
Mm.
that first 30K saved up, or that first 50K, or that first, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe that is the role of that job, is to get you to a blank amount saved, to get you a good track record of blank, to help maybe your credit score get up,
Mhm.
whatever it is, it's serving that purpose. And then we'll be on to the next thing, or then we'll get to go launch out our business, or then we'll look at the next thing. And so that dream session was so powerful in going through, okay, what are some character goals? What are adventure goals? What are, and travel,
Yeah.
What are my financial goals, professional goals, creative goals, like all these different things, and getting those juices going. Because now as I'm looking at, okay, what do I want to do this year? And I'm reverse engineering and I'm going, okay, I need to have this much money. I need this time. I got to work out, whatever it is to achieve that goal. Because I had a client who was working towards getting in her first fitness competition. I had a client who was working at
Yeah.
starting his fitness training. I had a client who was working on, starting her boutique. I had an employee who was like, it would be amazing. Like, I feel stuck. And I was like, why? She's like, I'm not moving on. And I said, okay, well, let's talk. And I said, well, tell me about what you want to do for your life. And which she at first was confused because she's like, well, I needed help with transition in business and what I should do next. I'm like, but it all comes back to, like, for me, I take a very holistic approach. Like,
Mhm.
what do you want your life to look like? Like, what do you
That
want it to look like?
that's
What
a hard question for some people,
it
what
is.
you want your life to look like, because when you're doing a 40-hour job a week and you're going to that again and again, you don't we don't give ourselves permission sometimes to stop and actually ask ourselves that question, what do we want our life to look like? And then the other side of that is, if we ask ourselves that question, the answer could be very scary or intimidating, because maybe we want a life that we don't even know how to get.
Yeah.
And what I heard you say was, taking your goals and reverse engineering them. And
Mhm.
anybody listening, I want to pull that out, because it really is about setting a goal, but then you have to work backwards. It's like, if you want to have $100,000 in the bank and you've only got 1,000, it's
Mhm.
not gonna materialize unless you've got a plan, and you may not have to have all the steps, but you just have to have one step that is gonna start you moving closer to
I
that
think that's where
goal.
mentors and
Yeah,
guides, play such a big part, right?
right, can help you
Great.
get out of your own way. Yeah,
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 because we all have blind spots, and the best coaches, we have coaches, like,
yeah,
and making
that's
sure
true.
that you're constantly leveling up. I mean, I talk to clients about this all the time. Like, think about the best performers, the best athletes. Like, they have their own personal trainers as well as the
Yeah,
coaches. And, they might have multiple coaches, and they have the Olympic coach, and they have their
yeah,
regular coach, and they have
yeah,
their
that's
trainer,
right.
and.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sometimes we undervalue or underestimate the power of having somebody else, as an outside, set of lens into our
Mhm,
own life. And I know for a long time I resisted it, because I couldn't justify paying the expense of a coach. Like, that
mhm.
was my own block was, oh, I don't want to pay that amount of money. But what I came to learn was that after I paid for my coach, what m- what my coach cost me, the return I received was
An
far greater than
investment.
what the
Yep,
investment
yep.
was.
I
Yeah,
always
yeah, yeah, yeah.
say
So
you can
it's
look at
like,
it an
yeah,
expense or an investment, right? Like,
yeah, 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 yeah. It's like, I was like, "Oh, wow," I got back more than what I spent on it. What was the most surprising thing that has happened to you once you started designing your life around what you wanted it? What was surprising that you didn't expect?
Um, well, I'm trying to think where to go with this. I think one of the most surprising things was how fast things could come into fruition. Like, I
Uh-huh.
really didn't realize how fast things could happen. I'm like, one day it'd be nice to da da da. And it was like, okay, cool. What would it take to do that? It was like, well, I'd need, X amount of dollars. I'd need this to get that done. I'd need to have okay, cool. What would it take to get that done? And then working, and it was like, oh, okay. So if you did this for the next, let's say, 5 years per debt, here's what it would take if you did it for 3 years or if you did it for one. And I was like, wow. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this is something I thought maybe one day, and
Wow.
far, far away. And by, going through this process and taking time to, one, get clear on what I wanted. Second, putting times to them. Like, this would be nice in my life. This would be nice within 10 years, 5 years, 1 year. And I have that all in my book, and I can give you a free Life by Design little workshop that I have that you can give to any of your listeners, like a little
Oh,
handle
awesome.
walkthrough. But just
Thank
like
you.
kind of getting clear on some of those things and understanding why it was important and like what were the must. Because in your list, you might have some things that it's like would be nice. Because when you have this dream session, it's about like removing all constraints, and it's like
Yeah.
anything's possible. Like, what would be fun? What would be cool? And even for me, I wasn't sure what I'd be doing like earlier in my years in terms of vocation or profession, but I knew who I wanted to be. I was like, and I
Mm,
wanted to be someone who was patient, who was kind, who was
mm,
uplifting. I wanted to be someone that could help pull potential out of people. And so for me, it started there. And so maybe it's like you don't have all this figured out, but you're like, you know what? I want to be healthy. I want to be vibrant. Like, let me start there because that energy is going to be a
yeah,
higher energy that's going to attract more. Right. And so
yeah.
focusing on the areas, because I really looked at all these different gardens and I'm like, all right, what one little thing, right? Which you talk about small steps, big wins. And I love it. What's one little thing I can do today and today and maybe start doing every day that can totally move the needle in my life when it comes to this area,
Mm.
you
Y
know?
I love what you said. You said what you want to be. I want to be kind. I want to be healthy. I want to be, a good friend. I wanna be what I want to be. The things you were naming were not professions. And sometimes I hear that question, "What do you want to be?" Or we ask kids, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" "Oh, I wanna be a fireman, police officer, teacher, whatever. I wanna be like whatever." And that thing that they're wanting to be is something like a profession,
Mhm.
but what what we don't realize is that that profession could change, and it's gonna change over a lifetime, that we're locking ourselves into something that might not that might not what it
I
is
just
for
don't
us,
think it
right?
matters. I
Yeah,
really think it
it
matters.
doesn't yeah, right, that's right, yeah, it doesn't matter, like, I'm thinking to myself, "What do you wanna be when you grow up?" Well, you wanna go be a teacher, of course, because that's what your parents did, that's what everybody else did, but I really want people to capture and hear what you want to be is not what you're necessarily doing for a profession, that we can challenge ourselves to be more than that, and then be that thing, and then carry it into whatever it is that our calling is for that season of life.
It's amazing when you're shining at your highest. Because my goal was like, can I be someone that's living into the like tapping into their full potential? What does that look like,
Okay.
right?
Right, right,
And
was
how
that
am I taking care of like my physical health, my mental health,
yeah,
emotional health, my spiritual, and so you vibrate at a different level. Like there's just a
yeah,
different energy you give off, and people feel that and see that. I guess opportunities will come, things will open. And so it's
yeah,
like I knew who I wanted to be in terms of the type of person. I knew the things I wanted to be able to do. I wanted to be able to give freely. I wanted to be able to support my family. I wanted to create opportunities and like love bombs for others. On my dreams list, I want to give away $1 million in a year, like because like that's we're doing so well. Like we get to do that. Like that excites
wow,
me. And like I
yeah,
don't know how that's gonna happen. And I'm like, I'm leaving that to the universe. Like I just know that
yeah,
like I'm gonna keep doing taking my actions, going through, throwing out like things that I know I want to be able to do, and knowing that God, creator, like they're hearing it and they're like, all right, let's see what we can put together. Because it's not when we're trying to control how it's going to happen, that's
yeah.
when we're leaving it in our hands. And there's so much more magic in the universe, God, whatever you believe in, there's so much more magic. There's so much that can happen. And if you've heard of manifestation and
Yes. Oh,
kind
yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I love manifestation. I
of
love just, when you dive into human design. So I don't know if you're
Mhm,
familiar with human design or not, but it's based on your the date you were born, the time you were born, and your location of birth. And then
mhm,
from there, if it takes, I think 5, 6, 7, I don't know how many different wisdoms of the ancients, the Stoics and stuff, and then they dump it all together, all this data and stuff. And anyway, in manifestation, I found out like I'm a manifesting generator, which means that I should allow things in the universe to come our way. But I think all of us, if we really think about our circumstances or think about things that have happened in our life, we've thought of things and then they've happened. And I used to discount that. I used
mhm.
to think that that was just a coincidence, or I wouldn't believe it or anything. But then I began to
Or we
realize
count it when it's negative. We're like, you see?
yeah. Yeah,
You
you
see?
see? Yeah, like the negative stuff. We focus on the negative stuff. We don't focus on the positive stuff, but the positive stuff really does happen. It's what you attribute that to too, right? It's the stories that you're telling yourself. But I want to capture what you did. You put this stuff out into the universe. You let God just you put it out there. You didn't know the how, you didn't know the who, but you knew the what, and
Yeah.
you knew what you want it to be. And even putting a timeline on it, like not even doing that. It's like, oh, I'd like to get there maybe 10 years, but it's be great if it's sooner, and
Or
just
sooner.
yeah,
Yep.
or sooner, and then allowing things to unfold the way they are that they're going to unfold. It's also that reticular activating system, isn't it? It's like you put something out there and then your brain starts looking for it. What were some of the limiting beliefs and stories that might have crept in while you're trying to design this life?
Oh my
And how did
I'm like I'm like,
how
"Do
did you
we have
slay those
do we
dragons?
have time for this?"
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
"Okay."
well, I do,
Here
I
I'm like, there's so many. They come up all
right,
the time. And there's I would say that there's a handful that show up over and over and over. And even today, a limiting belief that I had in high school will come up randomly, like, oh, well, whether it's like, oh, well, you're not good enough for that. And I'm like, yes, I am. Like, and you got to shut that up. And I loved they Disney had made a movie some years ago. It's a more recent, but like I don't know, sometime in the last 5 years. But Bruno was like the voice in his head, and he was like, "Shut up, Bruno!" Like when he was scared or he wouldn't take action, and he like called his like basically subconscious negative voice Bruno, and I loved it because it was like giving it a name and knowing like that's not you, that's your scared little inside person, and being able to push through that. And so I think that for me, it was knowing that anything that was coming up was not like anything negative, any worries, any limiting beliefs, like that's not true. Like I'm fully capable. I have everything I need around me or within me, right? Like if I don't have it within
mhm,
me, like I have access to it through those around me. God's blessed me. And I think that a big thing for me was just reminding, like creating affirmations or, processes initially where it's like, when I think like, oh, you're not, there you go, messing things up again, or there you go. And
mm,
it's like, no,
mhm,
actually, like you made the best decision with the information that you had
yeah,
and it just didn't work out. And that happens sometimes, and that's okay. What can I learn from this? How can I grow from
yeah,
this? That was a process I created for myself too. I would always ask that. I talk about it in my book, like creating to reprogram your brain. Because if not, my brain naturally went to, oh my gosh, there you go again. It's like
yeah,
those neural pathways have been freaking paved from repetition over and over when you're
yeah,
younger. And then it's like, okay, no, like that is not who I am or who I can be or what's possible. And so it's interrupting those trains of thoughts and like read, like even if you say something negative, like if you study manifestation and everything, it's like your language, everything, like you're
right,
attracting more of it. You can also self-correct, and if you listen to any of the greats talk about this and you're like, man, I just don't think I can do this, you're like, no,
yeah,
actually scratch that, I know I can, I'm just not sure exactly how to,
yeah.
but who could I contact, and you're like,
It's reframing, right, right. It's
that's
catching yourself in that negative self-talk. What are some of the, habits that you have in place that help you stay anchored over
yeah.
the course of your day?
Okay, one super easy one. I need to redo my one for this year. I'm super excited to redo it. Is record yourself. Like write out whether it's a life vision or like when you think about next year, how you want to show up. For me, it's always
Yeah.
about the type of person I want to be, how I want to treat my kids, how I want to show up in the world, what kind of energy and vibration I want to have to attract all the things that God and the universe wants to give me. If there's specific things you can write them, but almost like a visualization, affirmation, but it's like me talking about my life. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. This year you've been able to do this and this, like you show up for your family, you show up for this. And so I'm sure some of you guys have heard before, like writing. I don't know if you've ever been at an event and you write a letter to yourself, like
Yes.
looking back or, some kind of activity like that. But it's almost like it's rewiring the brain, like telling like, here's how you did it. Here's whatever. And so record yourself, like write out like a year from now, what does life look like if all goes well? How do you feel? How are you acting? Whatever it is, record it and listen to it every day. Like while
Mm,
you're driving to get coffee, listen to it multiple times a day. This should be like a 2 minute, like 2 3 minute, like that's it.
yeah.
And it's just like, I'm just so proud of you. Like you've done this and this. And so, first think about some of the things you'd love to accomplish this year.
Mhm.
Like how you've been able to like let go. Like, there was a year where I was holding on to shame so hard,
Mm.
and actually, that happened to me last year. Some stuff had happened. I had not felt that pain and that shame for almost 2 decades,
Oh,
by
wow.
the grace of God. But it came back up and it was tough. And I had to be like, no, this is not
Mhm.
you. God has made you to be like this and like this. And there's nothing to be ashamed because we can learn from everything. And, we can grow from everything. Everything can expand us if we choose for it
Yeah.
to, or it can collapse us. Right. And
Right.
that's our choice. And I'm going to choose to grow. And I had to really, work through that for myself. And so, not for 1 minute am I saying, once you figure it out, it's all perfect. Like we all, like, it just, we learn tools and we know how to
Right.
get ourselves back to where we need to be. And so
Right.
for me, like, morning affirmations were good, but like having something like that that's like a visualization of what my life looks like and what's happening and
Yeah.
affirming myself and the activities and good job waking up in the mornings and going to work out. And like then it's like my brain's hearing this, like, oh, we gotta go do that, like, like needs to go do that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's just one simple thing that anyone could do today that I believe is so transformational. um,
Yeah.
is getting those affirmations together and or goals, and that's just a fun thing.
I love getting it recorded because we hear a lot of talk about journaling. I love to journal. I got tons of journals. I went on a retreat with you back in February. It was awesome. We did a lot of journaling and reflection there, and I really appreciated that. But what you said, I just wanted to capture that and bring it back out, like video, audio recorded, and then listen to it in the car. I just thought,
Yeah.
wow, I'm in the car a lot sometimes, and listening to that, and it's good. It's whenever this comes out at the beginning of the year, whatever, anytime. What really, this is December. We're
Well,
recording this,
I
but
think about even like you're frustrated
it's
at work, something
yeah.
happened, you're like, duh, and you're like, let me take a moment. And that's another one of my processes was deep breath
Mm.
and like
Oh,
regulate.
breath work. Yeah, yeah. I love breath work.
And I would just take a couple deep breaths and I'm like, all right, what am I actually upset about right now?
Right.
And I'm like, is this even going to matter 5 years from now? These are all part of my processes, by the way. I get
Okay.
agitated. It's deep breath. It's what am I actually upset about right now? And then I
Uh,
say, is this going to matter in 5 years?
excellent
I'm like,
questions.
and I'm like, okay, we're gonna figure this out. And then that could be a
Yeah.
good time to just say, you know what, let me listen to this for 2 minutes and just listen to
Yeah.
it, feel it. And it's like, yeah, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
All right.
You mentioned your book. Did your book come out yet? I can't remember.
It came out in 2018. Yeah.
Oh. Oh.
So
Sorry.
it's called, no, it's okay. That's my fault. I don't talk about it much. And I
Why
actually,
is that? I'm curious. My book just came out and I actually don't talk about that much either. I find that it's very difficult to put myself in the author
oh,
persona. Somebody asked me yesterday, I was out somewhere yesterday, like, so what do you do? And I'm in between jobs at the moment. And I said, well, I'm a podcaster and I'm an author. And I took a step
yeah,
back from it and went,
uh-huh. Yeah, and
That
you know what? For
felt
me,
a
I
little new.
never put myself in the author pile either, but because I wrote the book more for my great great grandkids to get to learn what I've taught for 20 years.
Oh, love it.
It was like it was a legacy piece, and now I'm like, wow, this can help so many people because it changed my life. Everything in there, the first third of the book is what do you want and why, and really digging in. A lot of really fun questions to get your brain going, especially when you're stuck.
Mhm,
The second part of the book is all what do you want, like how do you get it? It's all
mhm.
nuts and bolts strategy. Like that's what I get paid to do with people is like the strategic aspect. And then the last third is how do you sustain it because life happens, right? And so the book is actually called Life as a Masterpiece, Design and Live a Life You Love Today.
Oh,
So it's a
okay.
lot of what we're talking about, and like the nuts and bolts, that are in there. And I talk about some of these processes and stuff to really help support. But we have the power to shift our focus. We have the power to choose how we interpret something. And obviously, typically as humans, we're going to interpret it through whatever receptors we have, which are past experiences. That's where
Mhm.
things go through. And sometimes that can serve us in a positive way, but many times it can serve us negatively because it's a totally new experience. And so I think about, putting on the right lens, putting on gratitude. That's important for me every morning or night. Like, what am I grateful for? Like this morning, I had my worship playing for like an hour as I was getting ready. And like, one of my favorite songs right now is called Gratitude.
Mhm.
It's a Christian worship song, but I was like, ooh, just like
Yeah.
pouring out and getting myself in a state where I'm ready to serve, where I'm ready to give and where I'm most connected,
Mhm.
is really important. So anyway, those are just all, so different things that'll help because we're not going to always have it all together and that's okay. But I think the most important thing is to keep working on who we want to be and how we want to show up in the world as a human, because that's what matters. When we die, we don't take all the shit with us,
Yeah.
and so, and by the way, the higher vibrational you are, the
Mm.
more people you want to help, and focusing your life on how can I help more people? What problems can I solve? How
Yeah.
can I impact? Like doors just, they keep opening,
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah.
they truly do.
Yeah, yeah. So we talked about things like, we talked about like, what we can do now, practical in the moment,
Mhm.
looking back. How about future and sustaining the life we built? What are some things that you do for yourself now that
Absolutely.
help you sustain what you've built for yourself? You've got 4 businesses, which to me is like amazing, and I
Mhm.
can't even imagine 4 businesses, but then also sustaining the life that you built without going backwards.
Oh, yeah. So I think that one super important to make sure that we are have those daily practices, right? Some of these things I just shared are actually part, of my of daily practices. So I think that for everybody, we need to be really aware of what our circle of influence looks like. This is one of the things that can most easily destruct us or lift us up, right? I think that people go all the time. You might read a book, or you might go to a conference. You get really excited. You have focuses.
Yeah.
Then you come back and you're with, maybe you have a partner who's really negative, or family who's like, why are you thinking about that? Or like, you just need to have this stable job and do this and things will be okay. Like, why are you thinking about being an entrepreneur? Why are you thinking about this? And people are always going to project their fears onto you,
Mhm.
and so I think it's important to do an audit of like, who do you talk to regularly, right? One. Second, sometimes you can't control spending more time with them because maybe they are a very close family member that you have to be around more, or maybe it's people at work that are really negative, but like you need that job right now in this season, and like I can't escape from it. And so these people are around, and you're just, you're going to interact with them. You can't avoid it. Well, be intentional, right? Intentionality being, if I know these people like really suck the life out of me and bring my energy down, can
Mhm.
I have a conversation during lunch with one of my best friends or my grandma or someone that totally like lifts me up?
Mm,
If I know
okay.
I'm going to speak to this individual, like I have a meeting with someone and they are super draining in my life, and I have, even a family member like that, then do I have someone afterwards that I'm going to have a meeting with or a lunch with that like refuels me, right? So
Mhm.
just knowing that like people will drain you, right? Some people will
Right.
fuel you, and so just if I know I have to be around, so obviously by intention I want to hang out with as many people as fuel me. So that's a separate topic in terms of choosing your circle, choosing your
Right.
friends correctly. Who do you need to remove from your life, and then what are the types of people you need more of to get you where you want to go? And so those can be friend groups, those can be accountability groups. For me, I love masterminds and community because people are serious. They have a paid interest to be at their best. And I feel you attract a different type of person who really is focused on personal and
Mhm.
professional growth. And so
Right.
that is super important to me. But again, coaches, well, whatever you have to keep you on track, but just in your personal life, do a friends audit. In 2000, I think it was six. Oh, actually, I think it was '05. But anyway, '05 or '06. I remember I write about this in my book, actually. I was in Cabo with a bunch of friends from work. We were at this hotel. I remember it was like 11 o'clock at night. Everyone had been like drinking all day, crazy. Our group, like we weren't, yeah, we were having I don't know, a glass of wine or something, but we were sitting in the hot tub talking about this and life and goals. And I remember they're like, oh, what are you gonna do with this? And what are you gonna do with that? And we looked around at one point because we're hearing all these super crazy drunk people everywhere, like being super obnoxious.
Mm.
Um, and my friend pauses and looks around, and like we're noticing the chaos that's happening at the hotel because it's an all-inclusive resort. And we looked at each other and he goes, how awesome is it that like we get to have these life-giving conversations and that
Yeah.
we get to do this with? And I was like, oh my gosh. And then he went on to talk about like, one of the best things I ever did for my life, he's like, was do an audit of like the people around me, and who am I spending time with, and like how do they take away energy, they give energy. And that's where this came from for me, and this was almost 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And he said, I'm really careful about, if I have two people I can hang out with, and it's an option, the one who's going to give me more energy,
Yeah.
to a
Yeah.
draining conversation and like someone life giving is calling in, I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry. I have to take this call. We'll have to
Yeah.
reschedule for the future. And I'm going to speak to my best friend who's a life giving conversation. Or, so I just became a lot more intentional with who I was around, who I was spending time with, who I was allowing to influence me. Y'all, do not forget, I don't care how old you are. I don't care how big into personal development. Like I have been in personal development for most of my life, adult life. And it doesn't matter if I hang out with people who are complaining all the time and all
Yeah.
the time. I don't know that I find myself necessarily, maybe I am, but I'm definitely not thinking about going bigger or what's possible. I'm definitely not, and then I get
Yeah.
around my life-giving friends who are like, we're doing this. And I'm like, yes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. these are people I need to spend more time with. And these are people that I might need to spend less time with. And so I
Yeah.
think it's really important for you to do an audit and be intentional with that. Morning rituals. If you guys haven't heard, a great easy book to read is Miracle Morning. One of
Yeah.
my
Love Miracle Morning.
so
Yeah. It was game changer for me.
it's huge. Hal and I
Yeah.
grew up in Cutco back in the day together, and he is an unbelievable human who practices what he preached. And this is literally what saved his life, that he has
Hmm.
now shared with millions of people all around the
Right.
world. Right. And so simple practices. And even for you mamas out there, I know his new version, he added more to it, like the updated version that came out this past
Hmm.
year. Because they're, moms with little kids, it's hard to have the miracle morning, have an hour to myself or 2 hours or, and so there's other things that we can do to still have those practices while still honoring our parental duties. So I'm not like,
Yeah.
you kids just sit there and cry for the next 2 hours while I leave and do my miracle morning. Like that's not gonna
So I
happen.
can go back and be the best version of myself after you've been sitting here by
Sorry,
yeah, 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 yeah. I know,
not
I
gonna
know.
happen.
But
So
yeah, but
how do you
it's
navigate with
great.
it?
Yeah, no, that's great. The routines definitely having something to anchor yourself in, even if it's not a really big deal. I mean, for me personally, it's a walk or it's just getting out and doing something for 30 minutes a day. That is my anchor
Yeah.
for the day.
I
I
do
mean,
things
I
like this, like your
yeah,
podcast or
yeah,
audiobooks or things that if
absolutely.
you go for a walk and you're getting exercise done while you're feeding your brain
Yes.
and just
Yeah.
keep feeding your brains the things you want to focus
Absolutely.
on.
Yeah, the things that bring you energy, and I think that was one of the biggest turning points for me once I started getting more into the self-development space is understanding that people give off energy. There's positive energy and there's negative energy. I have a friend of
Mhm.
mine that calls those people that you're around that suck energy from you energy vampires.
Me too. That's in my book.
Is it really? Okay, I'll have to he thought he made up that term. I'll have to tell him he didn't make it up. But anyway, but they suck that energy out of you, and you don't want to be like that anymore. You rather be around somebody who
Mhm.
just gives off that positive vibe. And that doesn't mean those people, and I would put myself in that too. It doesn't mean that you don't encounter hardships and challenges
Right.
because you do. I mean, they're going to be there. You are going to have highs and lows in your days, but it's how you turn yourself around to shorten the time between those highs and lows. And I always reframe it as trying to make my lowest points my new highs as I keep going through life, and that I find the positive, like you said, practice gratitude and find the positive in each
Mhm.
thing, in every circumstance, and not to view everything as a failure, but rather a learning experience. So, as we are coming down to a close for our podcast, what is one question or topic you wish I would have asked about? And how would you have answered the question or expanded on the topic?
Oh my gosh. I'm like, I could talk to you for so long. There are so many fun things.
I,
I would say this time audit, right? And so, one aspect of it, a lot of times people don't have time to do the things that they want to do or
Mhm.
study or this or whatever it might be. And I would say, one, do a time audit because it also helps you be more intentional with your time. I'm all about living life by design. What does that mean? You're intentionally doing what you want, right? You're
Yeah.
intentionally building what you've thought of. You're not just going by default. And so if you can take time for a week or a month, I always, I have clients do this for a week or two, and I'm like, just literally think about every single thing, like keep it on your calendar, everything you're doing. If you go pick up the lunch, put it on there. If you are doing the laundry, put it on there. If you are doing these
Mm.
reports, put it on there. If you are planning, don't just put work, be as specific as possible, because then we want to look at it and say, okay, which activities, and there's two aspects that we do with this, but one is energetically, what's helping you, what's a plus activity, right? Like
Mhm.
what is raising your vibration, what is an equal, and where's a negative activity that's draining you, and let's see what percentage of your time you're spending
Yeah.
where,
Yeah.
right? So we could shift. And then the other part is actually looking at what is every single thing that you need for your life and business to run, so that we can then look to see what can we automate, what can we delegate, where can we get a mentee? And this could be a college student that's looking for mentorship, where you're paying little to nothing, even for an internship or a paid internship or an unpaid internship, where they're getting mentorship and helping support you in an aspect of your business or accounting or whatever it might be, and they get to have you as a mentor, right? And so that's a whole other conversation in helping with those systems. But how many can you open an extra 5-10 hours a week for yourself by doing that you can now pour into a company you wanted to build, or a side hustle, or have time for these other things that matter, that fuel you, that you haven't had time for. So that would be what I'd share.
Perfect. Well, we can always come back and do another podcast on that one too. So that would be fun. So as we close, what is one small step that someone can do today that's going to help them change their tomorrow? And I know we touched on a bunch of them, but what's the one you want to leave us with?
The one would be take a moment to sit and think about what you're grateful for. Like, open that lens and go from there.
Perfect. Love it. Cathy, how can people find you, reach out to you, and re-mention the name of your book again so that we can look that up?
Well, and everything will be on the website. So the best
Yep.
place to go is my website, cathychristen.com. So it's Cathy with a C, Cathy. Kristen is Chris, Chris, like the name Chris, and then TEN, like the number 10. So cathychristen.com. All the social clicks are on the top, so you can find the socials. GoBundance is on there, a women's community I have. My book should be on there on the bottom, I hope. But no, everything should be connected there. So that's the best way to get connected with me.
Perfect.
And you can even book a Calendly call, to a discovery call straight from there as well. So.
Oh, perfect. Well, Cathy, thank you for the gift of your time. This has been amazing. This podcast is just chock full of little practical applications that people can do to walk away with to help them change the trajectory of their life. So thank you for the gift of your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing, because this is a podcast that, when you first told me about it, I was like, yes, people make things sometimes so hard, or they're thinking about all the big steps, and it's like one little step at a time. And if you keep getting one foot in front of the other, it's magic what happens in the trajectory you can send yourself on. So thank you for the work you're doing.
I appreciate that very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Small Steps, Big Wins podcast. I value your time with me, and I seek to make every moment count. In order to make lasting change in your life, listening is usually not enough. So I want to ask you, what practical steps are you going to put into action today as a result of listening to this podcast? Remember, any step, any action, no matter how small, starts your journey to a big win. And if you're not sure where to get started, reach out to me and let's have a conversation. Until next time, love yourself, then love others. Peace.